You're done? Size, right? That's the problem.
Did you already set it all?
Oh, by the way, did you get this prevision? I don't know, maybe we would still.
No, I didn't follow this.
All right, good evening. I'd like to call this council meeting to order. There is one late item regarding the Electoral Boundary Commission. With that, a motion to adopt the agenda would be in order.
Move.
Second. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Just before we get on with business, I would like to pass on the condolences to the family of Glenn Wong. He has been the chair of the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District and unfortunately passed away earlier this week. I know that many of us knew him from EBCMs and ABICCs, and I know he's appeared at the regional district here, and certainly a very outgoing person, and really sad to hear of his passing. And in fact, I said hi to him at UBCM, so our condolences to him and his family, and to the members of that regional district. And if we could maybe send a letter to that effect, that would be great. So with that, we'll move on with the agenda. We have a delegation. Mr. Harvey Ash, I believe, is supposed to be here. Okay. If you would come to the podium, sir, and you have 10 minutes for your presentation, including any questions that council may wish to ask. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak first as well. First of all, I've just talked to Gord Schreiner, and he's mentioned there's just a couple of minor bylaw changes as well. I think it would be a good time to really review this whole bylaw. At this time, this bylaw is written the same way as you'd write it for the Benson Hedges Symphony fireworks display in Vancouver, or if you're giving a permit for 50 foods or quality foods to put on a big display. They're using the same rules in this for a presentation like that. Another thing too, which is we're supposed to have 3 readings and the whole idea of having 3 readings is that it gives the community, people in the community, a chance to talk to council and give their points of view on this. I can see a meeting like if you're deciding to have spruce or cedar trees downtown, you could have 3 readings. It's not controversial, but this is a very controversial bylaw, and you haven't given the community a chance to voice their opinion on it. To have 3 readings last week and this week finalize the decision is really wrong, I think. Also, the timing of this bylaw is very unfair. There's many businesses that it's going to cause undue hardship because you're doing this 3 weeks before the event. There's many people who have paid for supplies and ordered supplies for Halloween, and now just to put something like this at this late time is really unfair to those businesses. Family fireworks has been traditionally enjoyed the last week of October, where everyone over the age of 18 years of age can purchase them and use them on their private property. And I know this has changed in Comox for many years, but as I say, this would be a good time to reconsider that, because it's I feel this is an activity that my father and grandfather and generations have really enjoyed this, and because there's the odd accident, is not a reason to ban everybody from it. We're not going to ban everybody from driving a car because some of the people drive drunk. And it's the same thing. It's there's also a lot of people that don't enjoy big crowds, put on by the display like Thrifty Foods puts on. And they don't want to go there and fight the traffic and the crowds. They want to buy a few for their own use at home with their friends. And this bylaw makes any of those kind of people criminals. I mean, haven't the RC, and also you want the RCMP to enforce this bylaw. Don't we have better things for the RCMP to do than chase people with a few family fireworks? They should be out chasing drunk drivers or whatever. This is just I understand that. And as I say, there's far more injuries. People driving cars, drunk driving, using legal firearms, downhill skiing, using a snowmobile or a skidoo. There's all these activities that cause far more accidents than the local fireworks, the family fireworks do. Far more. And nothing is said about that. Look at the big riot in Vancouver. How many people have actually done jail time a year and a half later? And here we're doing really major stiff fines for this activity that all of you in this room have enjoyed at one time in your young adult years. Now even some local bodies are trying to legalize marijuana. You know, we all know how much damage that does to young people's minds, and here they're trying to legalize that and make this a criminal activity. I have held a fireworks supervisor's card in the past. It's not current, but I've taken the courses, and this bylaw has not talked about to anybody in that industry about how to do a bylaw, and it's very obvious with the bylaw the way it's written. There's two basic classes of fireworks. One is the type where you've got 12-inch shells going up 300, 400, 600 feet in the air, and sometimes higher. And you need the person that's licensed. Then you have to have the person that's a licensed fireworks supervisor to supervise all this. He has to have a radius of about 1,200 feet from where the spectators are watching it. That's because of the high explosiveness of it and the distance it goes up in the air. With family fireworks, it goes up 50, 60, 70 feet if you're lucky. And the fireworks are a lot, peak. The spectator can stand much closer to the event, and it's not dangerous. I mean, there's certainly, if it's not used properly, you can have anything be dangerous, but used responsibly in the way there's an instruction on every firework. That's a Canadian law. All the fireworks in Canada that are sold legally, each one has to have the name of a Canadian distributor or a purchaser that imports it into Canada. And if it's not, then there's a very good chance that somebody has smuggled those across from the States, and they don't have the same safety standards that we do. All our fireworks in Canada, they're tested by the explosive branch, and they have a ISO 9000 testing lab in Ottawa. That lab is used by many states in the U.S. as well because it's such a high-quality testing unit there. And some of the basic laws for family fireworks, not sold to anyone under 18. Single firework displays in a store not more than 25 kilograms. So that means you display a variety of things on this wall, not weighing more than 25 kilograms. And the balance of those boxes that they came in, some of them 36 in a box, 24, 12 in a box, whatever, that's put in the back room. So you don't have a huge display at the store at one location. No smoking displays. Instruction from the owner of the store not to let his staff smoke either around the fireworks. And things like this here, or things have to be in a locked display case or behind a counter. You have to have things behind where the staff has to serve the consumer that wants to buy some fireworks. Everything is geared safely, and it's all done by Explosive Canada, and it's a legal item in Canada. Why should each individual community make their own local bylaws for this? I've asked 4 people in the last couple of days that have been involved in this to come to this meeting, and everybody says, oh, it's useless, you're just fighting brick walls. And I said to myself, well, I'm not going to just ignore it and not attend this meeting. I'm almost 65. I'm 65 in November. I'm ready to retire. So why should I care? Because I care about my son and his grandchildren, that they enjoy the privileges that I had all through my life. And I think this is a wonderful activity, and I've had enjoyment my whole life on this. And to see this trying to be destroyed by the main push is by the head of the Fire Chiefs Association and also the head of the Police Chiefs Association. And they've gone around from municipality to municipality killing this industry. There's only 2 local towns on Vancouver Island that allow you to sell it anymore, which is Qualicum Beach and Port Hardy. The rest is done in regional districts. And type of bylaw goes through for Comox, who knows, it can get stretched into regional districts as well. And right now, there's a push in Alberta, they want to ban it for the whole province. You know, I can't understand it, why, I had a put on a display every year in my place, other than the last 6 years when it was banned in Parksville. I had 100 to 120 people come, and everybody enjoyed that more than the big displays on the beach. I got lots of very good comments on it. And as I say, I just really can't understand it. I have a suggestion. I would like to see the total bylaw put in a local newspaper after Halloween, and once a week for 3 weeks. And let the people of Comox vote on this. Even though the majority of people here are retired, I don't think this would have a chance to fly if it was done honestly and responsibly. And it's not just it shouldn't be done by you know, a few people in this room to decide what everybody in Comox wants. I think that that's my opinion anyway. And,
All right. Thank you for your presentation. Are there any questions from members of the council?
I just have one. Did I hear you correctly when you said, I don't think you said this, but you kind of alluded to the fact that there is nobody in Comox that currently sells fireworks in a store?
I didn't say that, no.
No, but you kind of alluded to the only place you could buy them was the regional districts?
Yes, as far as I know, that's
So it would be
correct.
safe to assume, or maybe the CAO knows, that we don't actually have anybody selling fireworks
That's
in
correct.
Comox right now?
That's correct.
Fair enough.
All right. Anything further? Seeing none, thank you, sir. The next item on the business agenda is for approval of the meeting of the minutes. Approved, September 19th. Moved and seconded. Okay, any discussion?
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Just a little amendment on page 9 under the report from members of the council, just for clarity. In the first sentence where it speaks the water committee meeting, we passed the water efficiency plan, and then it was the watershed protection plan as well at that meeting. So that could just go together there. That was the
Okay, maybe you can talk to the clerk about the exact wording there. All right, with that, anything further? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Management report then at page 11 for receipt.
Move receipt.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of receipt? Motion's carried. And we're still on track for all those things. Yes, the CAO and I met with the Minister of Aboriginal Affairs at UBCM, who's Ida Chong, and received very positive feedback on that. So, as you know, that joint application is proceeding. So, the rest of that, I think, solid waste we'll be talking about in a moment, and the off-leash dog park, yes, the CAO and staff are working on a report for the October 24th meeting. So that'll come forward very soon. All right, anything further? Okay, we'll move on. We've received that, I think. On the referral then from the meeting last, the Blue Communities Project Council Canadians material, starting at page 13. And that matter has been referred to this meeting for any resolutions that need to be considered. And who would like to lead off with that? Councillor Price?
Well, I'd like to lead off and, basically to be a blue community and join the many other municipalities across BC and Canada who are already blue communities. We do need to endorse the following 3 resolutions, and I'd like to take them separately.
Okay, so those were the ones on page 14, 15, and 16, 17.
Right.
Okay,
So I would
deal with them one at a
move
time. Okay.
I would move the first resolution, which is that the town of Comox recognises access to clean water as a human right.
Okay.
second that.
Okay, let's move the second, and the wording with all the whereases and the be it further resolved is all on page 14.
Lovely.
Okay,
And
so go ahead.
just, basically, I believe this is a basic motherhood statement, and I support it. And I'd like to think this is something that we can all support and agree on.
All right, any further discussion? Councillor Grant?
Yeah, I guess for me, this and the next motion that's coming are both really federal or provincial issues, as far as I'm concerned, when I read them. In the 7 years that I've sat at this table, every time somebody brings their federal or provincial politics to our table, it's always the ones that cause problems. It's always controversial. And I just think that people should take these issues to the proper place for them to be looked at. And so I don't see that here. I also am wondering, when you make water a basic human right, how you would possibly ever do that. Like, I mean, it's, as you say, it's a motherhood statement, but to make a motherhood statement like that and then not really have any way to implement that statement, it just seems doesn't seem correct to me.
I suppose in terms of the therefore be it resolved, the recognition that we're being asked to affirm is that access to clean water, we're talking clean drinking water for the most part, is something that we deliver as a service in the town through the regional district. So I don't see why that would be a particular problem. The be it further resolves, of course, are referring to senior levels of government, which we often either directly at this council table or through the ICC, DSEM, or even FCM do ask for federal and provincial support for those. So I mean, we are doing that as a service, and I know that we take great pride in the fact that our drinking water is a high standard and that access to it, obviously, access to it as a fundamental human right, there is an obligation to pay for it, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I suppose it's not inconsistent with what we're delivering as a service. But those are my comments. Any further deliberations, comments? Are you ready for the question? All those in favor? Those opposed? One opposed? Motion's carried. All right. So the next one is, I guess, Councillor Price. You want to move that as well?
Yes, and I'd like to move the next resolution, which basically that the town of Comox promotes publicly owned and operated water and wastewater infrastructure, and the resolution is below. And yes, I'd like to move that resolution.
That's the one on page 15.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a seconder? Okay, thank you. All right, so on that, go ahead.
Yes, and basically this resolution complements the preceding one, and it is supported by the UBCM resolution of 2011, which is at the front of our report from our CAO, which speaks to on the third page, and everyone will have seen it. And I fully support our water and wastewater system staying in the public domain, and I do urge that my fellow councillors endorse this resolution. Thank you.
Councillor Fletcher.
Thank you. I would like to make a small amendment, and what I'm looking at is in the first, the therefore be it resolved clause. It states that the town of Comox upholds. I'd like to change that oppose and put it in a more positive tone, and the positive tone would be from the very heading, which is at the top of the page, and therefore be it resolved that the town of Comox promote publicly owned and operated water and wastewater infrastructure services. I think that's a more positive presentation of the resolution. It's not saying that we will never ever look at P3s perhaps.
Okay, well there may be.
I'll second that.
Make sure
So
we got
that,
that seconded.
so that therefore is replaced.
So oppose privatization in any form of water and wastewater treatment services. Take that out and simply put in, right from the top of the page, promote publicly owned and operated water and wastewater infrastructure.
Period. So all the stuff about P3s and all that's gone. And that therefore be resolved. Is that what you're saying? You have that now?
No, sorry, do you want the last bit, including through P3s, retaining these services in the public domain to be kept? No,
I
so
think
strike
that's- yes,
everything
yeah.
from oppose on,
Yeah,
okay.
because of the conflicts, yeah.
Okay, so you're turning a negative into a positive, but the
But I
aim
think
is,
that's
aim
still-
is consistent.
Yeah, that's not-
I guess the question would be, with that amendment, assuming it passes, that, and the whole thing passes, whether that still make us a blue community.
Yeah.
I guess all we can do is try.
Well, and I'm just wondering what the,
On the amendment, are you speaking?
yes, I want to know what the purpose of that is. If you're just taking the bold headline there, and say promote publicly owned and operated water and wastewater infrastructure.
And I'm removing the statement that says oppose. I
So
think that's a very
so
negative.
you're fundamentally changing this.
No, I'm taking the very heart of it, I think.
Well, you're saying instead of we won't do it to saying we will or we might.
Yeah, it's,
I'm just trying to figure out where we're
No,
going.
no,
I think
what
I'm
the-
just making it a more positive statement as opposed to a very negative, strong negative.
Well, would we be opposed to them or not? What if somebody came with a really good P3? Would you go for it or not?
Well, I think that leaves the door open.
That's what I'm getting at. So you were fundamentally changing what we're doing here. Is that what
that
we're
is,
doing?
that is the purpose of the amendment, yes.
Okay, because I'm not totally unhappy with it that way. I don't like it the way it's written.
Well, let's see where we get to on the wording. So it's therefore be resolved, the town of Comox promote publicly owned and operated water and wastewater infrastructure. And then be it further resolves are still staying the same at this moment. So on that amendment, is there any further discussion?
I was just going to say, I feel that it's totally in keeping with the resolution, and the resolution is actually entitled "Promote Publicly Owned and Operated Water and Wastewater Infrastructure." So
Okay.
I'm very comfortable with that.
All right.
Okay, so again,
on the amendment, yeah.
sorry, could I just ask the question then? So does that mean that you would oppose a P3 if it came, no matter what? Because we're changing that, right? We're making it say, I want to make sure we got the wording correct so we know what we're doing here. That's all I'm saying is
It
that.
doesn't say anything about P3s in the operative clause.
So if a P3 were to come that fit
It
a
would depend on the
situation
nature of the P3.
perfectly, then you may consider it. Is that what we're saying?
I haven't said one way or the other.
P3s
That's
can,
what I'm saying, because this is saying one way or the other.
P3s can still result in public ownership.
Right, yeah. No, yeah, I understand that. No, I just want to be really clear that what we're doing here.
Good clarification.
That's good. Okay, on that amendment, is there anything further? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment? Any opposed? That motion is carried on the amendment. Now the main motion as amended. Yes.
Okay, so I just have one question I understand that sometimes when we're doing grant writing, it there's a question on the grant form, which I've never seen, but I understand that it asks a question about P3. Since we've changed this, do you think that, I guess I'm asking the CIO, would this interfere with us getting grants in any way, do you see, with this change? Or could it?
Good question. Not sure. Would council see the resolution stand with just the therefore clauses?
Yes.
And
Whereases aren't operative anyway.
Not the whereases, okay. I think then the wording provides enough latitude that although you're looking at promotion of public facilities, it doesn't restrict you to consider that only.
Yeah. Just like UBCM or ABICC, the whereases are essentially meaningless. They're just background. And it's the operative wording that the therefore be resolved, some further resolves that are the operative.
Okay.
That much I remember from UBCM.
Well, what were you doing there?
It was only a full day of resolution. It was drilled into our heads, sir. So there you have it. Okay. So anything further on the motion as amended? Seeing none, all those in favor? And nobody's opposed. Motion's carried. Thank you for that. And then lastly, on pages 16 and 17, well, I guess there's a lot of whereases on 16, but page 17 is the operative. So, Councillor Price.
Yes, so I would like to remove this third resolution, which basically speaks to the town of Comox having a ban on the sale of bottled water in its facilities and at events.
Okay, so is there a seconder for that?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Go ahead.
Yes, so this third resolution speaks to the use of bottled water in our facilities and events. But I would like to make an amendment to it in that by adding moves towards, so that in the resolution where we've got the therefore be it resolved that we have the town of Comox will move towards single-use bottled water no longer being sold in our town of Comox and in concessions, and that being reflected through the 5 bullets, 2 Ds.
Well, there are 2 Ds there, right?
Yeah, so that we are moving towards it rather than the
Okay, so you're saying basically right after therefore it be resolved that the town of Comox, moves towards A, B, C, D, E.
yes.
Okay. Is there a seconder for that amendment?
Second.
Okay. On the amendment, yes?
Well, it sounds to me like you want to have a foot on the boat and a foot in the dock at the same time. And I don't really understand why, I mean, you either do this or you don't, as far as I'm concerned. I don't get what does move towards mean, when, how, it just, it's another one of those out in the clouds resolutions that I don't see, I mean, shouldn't there be some end result here or something? I mean, that just leaves it open for, I don't know.
Fair comment?
I don't get it.
Councillor Price, maybe?
Well, the reason that I asked for the amendment, and actually this is in line with what Cumberland did, they also, when they became a blue community and passed this resolution, they did amend it to say we'll move towards, as other municipalities have done, because it acknowledges that we may not be ready to carry out all the therefore be it resolved. We can only ethically say no sale of bottled drinking water at our events if we have a means for people to have water available, and in our facilities there may be changes that we need to put into place, more drinking fountains or taps or a backup plan. So rather than having it as an absolute thou shalt from tomorrow onwards do this, we are making a commitment that this is a priority to us, and in our actions we will move towards implementing it. So that's the reason for it.
All right. Councillor Grant, then Fletcher.
Well, I guess I have a little bit of a problem with this one in that, if you go to nautical days or even the ball hockey tournament, you have no idea how many cases of water those hockey teams go through. And I can't see any way on earth that you could do that without having bottled water, unless you had a whole other level of volunteerism just to look after that. And even then, I don't know how that could work. But it also seems a little wrong to me that you could go to nautical days and you could buy a soda, a pop, which would be bad for you, or a diet soda, or something of that nature, and yet water, which is actually quite good for you, you wouldn't be able to buy. So, to me, when we get the technology and we get to be able to do that, that's probably the time to do this. That's just my comments on it.
Good comments. Fletcher and McKinnon.
I think probably I'm on the same vein there. My concern is that so many, and it's the recreation events in particular, that I've seen where we've had such great sponsorship from some of the water companies, and often the events are off-site, and the water to the participants is critical, it's valuable to keep them hydrated. So I guess I'd like to hear some conversation that we are not really compromising that ability for that to happen.
Councillor McKinnon.
Yes, My apologies for this being moved from 2 weeks ago's council meeting to here. I thought this was going to be a resolution at the UBCM, and I was mistaken. However, I did notify a couple of councillors in regards to that, and I did some homework at the UBCM with different delegates from different jurisdictions, and basically what I heard from the majority of folks was that they supported the first two resolutions. The third resolution, they had some of the concerns that are being raised here around the table, and that particularly at public or charitable events raised for charity, where there was donated water or bottled water or whatever for participants. And in that regard, it seems to me the consensus was that the last resolution could not be supported by the majority of folks that I spoke to. I think there's some merit in that. Moving towards it, I hear Councillor Grant's point about pop and vending machines in public buildings too, and which is worse, selling bottled water or pop and sugar products. I'm not sure. I think most of us would say the vending machine stuff. So I don't know if I could support the last resolution at this point, and that was the consensus that I received at UBCM.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Price.
And yes, and some good points raised, and Councillor Grant mentioned about bottled water and choice, and in the same way Coca-Cola does not provide Pepsi in its facilities, municipalities could be proactive by promoting their own municipal water service. So it's not a choice between it's a choice between a can of Coke and actually having accessible public water. To have it accessible to people doesn't necessarily mean it has to be in a bottle in a machine. Now, often that's the case, and we know that some people don't like using water fountains, and that's the importance of the amendment of moving towards, is that we have to develop ways to have water available to people so that they don't need to go and buy it out of the machine. And I'd just like to point out that this resolution is supported by FCM, who in March 2009 passed a resolution urging their members to phase out, and it's the same thing as move towards, phase out the sale and purchase of bottled water at their own facilities where appropriate and where potable tap water is available. And then they further resolved that municipalities be urged to develop awareness campaigns about the positive benefits and quality of municipal water supply. So basically, FCM in 2009 was urging very much a similar resolution. And across the country, municipalities, school boards, universities, faith-based organisations, restaurants, unions have been standing up for Canada's public water service by phasing out the provision of the sale of bottled water. And the movement is particularly strong at the municipal level, and there are many municipalities, over 28 BC municipalities, including Cumberland. Nanaimo, I think, was quite recent. There's been big communities, small communities, and I think back east, Toronto was quite a recent one, that have come out in support of promoting their own water system rather than bottled water. In Canada, municipal water systems are among the safest and strongest in the world. Meanwhile, bottled water costs consumers thousands of times more and is far less regulated than tap water. The production of bottled water also consumes vast amounts of energy and releases harmful toxics into the environment. Of the many different services that municipalities provide, it is often said that no service is as critical to the health of citizens as the supply of clean water. Phasing out the provision and sale of bottled water on municipal property and committing to promote clean and accessible public water will demonstrate a commitment to the municipal water system. And there really is no green solution to bottled water. And according to a peer-reviewed journal article by the Pacific Institute, 96 to 162 million barrels of oil is consumed annually to produce, transport and dispose of bottled water. And we have much more stringent regulations for our own water than for bottled water companies, so we know that it's of a high standard. And there are alternatives. That the Big Time Out this year went without bottled water. They had free water bottle filling stations at the Philboat Festival, I understand. And there are a couple of Courtney businesses already who want to get on board with a project that was started in New York and has moved to many cities since. Washington is one that's often written about, whereas they're advertised as places people can go in and fill their water bottle. And but basically it's not about a ban on the use of bottled water in the community. It's just committing to make our excellent municipal water available for all our citizens to use, whether it's through public fountains or bottle filling stations, rather than just having bottled water for those who can afford it. So there's ways around all these things, but that's the importance of moving towards.
Okay. So I think we've still got the amendment on the floor,
Okay.
so we should consider that first, and then perhaps vote on the amendment, and then see where we get to on the main motion, if the amendment passes. So on the amendment, are you ready for the question? All those in favor of the amendment?
Let's move towards, correct?
Move towards. Those opposed? 2 opposed, so the amendment passes. Now the main motion, Councillor Grant, did you have your hand up?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. When you're doing events, like, I don't actually know, I've seen the pumper things. I've been to events where those are there, and that's a great solution, and I have no problem with that. But you have to monitor that. You have to have somebody actually do it. When you're organizing a major event, it's a whole other level that you have to now bring in to make that work. And it's just not that simple to do. I think that, I go back to the ball hockey tournament. We're probably going to be looking for a different location for that this year, and I don't think that water's going to be available up there. So I don't know how you would do that up there, wherever they move this to. I don't know how you would possibly do that without bottled water. And I also think back to, I guess the word ban, and I know you've taken that out a little bit here, but, this came up once before in a ban bottled water in the Comox Valley, and about 6 months after that we had a boil water advisory, and all of a sudden, boy, was I ever glad you could go get some. So, I still, if people want to move towards this, they should do that. When we've got the solutions, maybe bring it back at that time and we can deal with it then. I don't, this is, it's not ringing true for me, so.
Okay, Councillor McKinnon?
Yes, I won't support a ban right now. I can support the move towards, and I'd like to apologize to Councillor Grant for making reference to Coca-Cola, which he's drinking right now.
Okay.
At least I could get it.
I think Coca-Cola also controls many of the bottled water plants too. So, yeah. Okay. Well, I think we are moving towards already. Item B, I think, is after referring to council meetings. We haven't had bottled water here for a long time. Single-use bottled water it is. Water jugs. I'm assuming they're talking again about meetings. So I don't have a problem with B and C. We're probably already there on those. I'm a little concerned about D and E in the sense of what responsibility the town would be put under. Putting a plan in motion to increase access to municipal water. We do have water fountains at the rec centers. There's taps outside and inside the washroom buildings here at Marina Park, and the other washrooms that are in other parks. So, people have the ability to fill up their water bottles, and so I suppose I wouldn't want to see us spending a whole lot of money on enhancing access to water. Where does that end? People have to take some responsibility that if they're going out for an event somewhere, that they should bring some water with them. Certainly, we want to have to see us putting water fountains on every corner. The public awareness campaign, I'm not sure what that would entail. I know that the regional district through the water committee has been working on that, and Councillor Fletcher, of course, can speak to that. But again, we do work through the regional district on many of our water issues, And I suppose to the extent that involve them and the water funds through that, again, I wouldn't see our staff necessarily doing all that work if it's being done at the regional district level. And I guess as far as item A goes, I guess if we're moving toward it, I'm not sure when we would phase it out, but I too share the concerns Councillor Grant has raised about access and convenience, and people, if they're given a choice in a vending machine, water is not such a bad choice compared to some of the other things that are in there. I know we're trying to provide healthy choices in all concessions and vending machines. I don't think we actually run any concessions anymore, but our vending machines up at the rec center perhaps. So all that being said, moving toward it makes it a little fuzzier, I suppose, as to when it would actually happen. But I do have those concerns about what obligations we'd be putting our community through. And I guess we'll see where that goes if the motion passes. Anything further? All right, are you ready for the question? Oh, Councillor Fletcher.
Yeah, I do struggle with this one. In the first A bullet, I get some comfort from where access to municipal tap water exists. However, there are concessions that will come to events, whether it's nautical days or whether it's a hockey tournament or whether it's a running race. And those concessions may very well have bottled water, which may very well be necessary for some participants if they haven't brought their bottle containers. So
They wouldn't be town of Comox owned or administered at that point.
right.
Now, whether it's a public facility, it's up front of the town hall here for the 4 mile race, I don't know.
I guess yeah. I'll look to moving towards and with some comfort.
CEO, do you have any comments from the staff level?
Well, I think this is a difficult set of conditions to enforce, and part of me is thinking along the lines of the existing concession that we have in Marina Park. Although we don't own it, we administer the fact that they are present. And would that mean with this resolution that we would advise them?
The vendors?
Yeah, there's a existing one down there, and through the summer season there's usually 2 that we have. So with this resolution, trying to get clarification on whether we would tell them not to sell bottled water anymore. Because there are facilities down in Marina Park. There is tap water that exists. So these are some of the complexities with some of these conditions that are listed. I also do have a concern with the provision of water jugs at municipal events, and that there is a solution to it, but there is also the potential for contamination of water when you're moving it from just taking it from a tap to putting it into another vessel. And so again, there are solutions, but there's care that needs to be taken to doing these things. And I'm not sure about the last one about developing a public awareness campaign. It's not something that we have the resources to do ourselves, and we would look at working with the regional district for something like that.
And it's interesting you mentioned the water jug one. I know that at the Comox Golf Course, they don't want people filling up their water bottles from the water jug.
They've taken them away at many. Yeah.
So you have to get them to fill it for you because of that cross-contamination.
Or somebody could tamper with them too.
Yeah. All right, lots of questions. Yes.
So I don't know whether there's a desire to amend the last bullet to say, the town of Comox work with the regional district, because you're quite right, the regional district is the appropriate avenue to promote the value of our water, and I'm sure that's already happening.
Well, that could be an amendment, yes. Would you?
Could I just, before you go on, are the regional district already doing this, you say?
There has been, I think, at the Water Committee, some moves towards that. I know there was discussion around some of their events at the exhibition grounds.
Yeah, and there's an awareness campaign being developed explaining where water comes from and those different aspects.
So if they're already doing it and they've already got people working on it, why would we then put our staff time into doing what they're already doing? you know, they're a valley-wide thing already. I mean, I don't think we need to put any staff time into
Well, let's-
helping them do what they're already doing.
Okay, let's see if this motion gets a second.
Or I could, that we request that the regional district develop a public awareness campaign, and that doesn't require any staff time.
Okay, so your
I'm amending
amend is that the town of Comox requests that the regional district
Yeah,
develop.
yeah.
Okay, that is, yes, a different amendment for sure. Is there a second for that?
I'll second. for
Okay,
discussion.
thank you. Okay, on the amendment,
All right.
Councillor Fletcher, and then
Okay.
Well, my concern would be that it could be very onerous on the regional district, being that they speak for Courtney and Comox, and I don't know where Courtney's position lies on this. And their media campaign speaks to the entire water system, and so I think the entire water system, even the electoral areas that are participants in it, would all have to be on the same page. I don't think that you can ask them to simply address Comox issues. So I think that needs to come first before we proceed with that.
okay, so you're speaking against the amendment? Councillor Grant.
Yeah, no, I just was going to reiterate basically what I said before, which is I thought we just went over the fact that they already had a plan, so we don't need to urge them. Perhaps we could check on.
Might not be a specific plan around bottled water, it might be just more to do with the system itself.
Okay.
All right, so any further discussion on the amendment? There's a question on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment? Those opposed? Amendment's defeated. All right, so we're back to the original wording of that bullet.
And just, I mean, just say, just reminder that the move towards applies to all of them, so this is not
Yes.
a request. It's touching on the points that were raised by FCM, and there's certainly no expectation that we rush out and do this tomorrow. I think it's just, it's a leadership statement rather than an action statement at the moment. And I think just to make clear, this isn't talking about a ban on water, that the supermarket will still be full of bottled water and people's fridges will have bottled water. It's just saying that as the purveyors of a wonderful public water system, we'll take a leadership role and say we don't need to be spending all these resources on putting it in bottles that that are costly and recycled. Some of them turn up in the waste plant and part of our fill. That we can we can move in that direction. And there's some of the huge festivals in Vancouver have managed to get bottled water out of it, and either they give away your own water container that's fillable. So it's more again it's more a motherhood statement, and certainly there will still be thousands of bottles of water everywhere. It is not a ban on bottled water. It's just a directional leadership role.
Anything new to add to the debate?
Yeah, if I could, I'd like to make an amendment. I'd like, considering what I've heard on bullet C, the concern for contamination and possibly, whatever, getting to that water jug, I'd like to make an amendment that be removed.
I'll second that.
All right, so we're deleting, the motion is to delete
Item C.
item C. Okay, that's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on that? All in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, so we've got the first two bullets and the last two bullets.
Water jugs.
Anything further on those that we haven't already sort of discussed? I know that some municipalities have actually developed a campaign around giving people a water bottle to fill, but I hope we don't do that because I've got a whole drawer full of them. From wherever.
I don't know what to do with them all.
I tell you, they come at every event you do. All right, so seeing no further speakers on that, all those in favor of the motion as amended? And those opposed? I was in favor, so we'll let it carry at that.
That's wonderful.
All right, so there are two opposed. All All right, thank you for all that deliberation.
Thank you.
Moving on to special reports, we have 3 sets of minutes from the regional district, the board, the hospital district, and the solid waste.
So we would like to move receipt of all
That'd
three.
be wonderful.
Second.
Okay, and any discussion on those? All those in favor? Motion's carried. All right, moving on to fireworks, adoption of the bylaw. We've had the 3 readings at the council meeting 2 weeks ago, I understand.
I'll move adoption.
Thank you for that. And is there a second report?
Second.
On adoption, any discussion? Councilor Kim?
Yes, Chief Snyder, do you want to just up to date how your feelings on the ban for fireworks here in the community?
Okay, well, some history. We haven't sold fireworks in Comox for at least 10 years, probably 12 years. So our delegation here was a little bit off the mark with some of the information. We all kind of noticed that. So we haven't sold them. None of our retailers would have ordered them already. We do have in the past issued a few permits. I think I reported to Shelley about 15 a year over the last 5 years or something on average. So it hasn't been a big uptake of that, considering we have about 4,000 houses in Comox. We've had some issues with fireworks every Halloween, that people shoot fireworks at each other, causing fires. Nothing real serious in our community, but certainly around North America there's been real serious events. I brought a few stats along, but they're obvious, they're very huge. 51,000 fires started last year by fireworks in North America. I think it was something like 8 deaths last year in North America by fireworks. I think we're heading in the right direction to restrict the use of them, especially in the tight communities like us with the small lots.
Thank you, Chief. Anything further, Councilor McKinnon? Councilor Price, and then
It's a dry season this year too, isn't it?
And this year, especially in February, because of the weather.
Councilor Price, did you have any?
Yes, because we've had a couple of weeks since the last reading, and have we had any other response other than the presenter selling fireworks?
Well, you may recall, this bylaw, it's not really, it's a bylaw that we're basically updating and making stronger at the request of the RCMP and other officials to give it a bit more teeth. So, I mean, the essential prohibition on it has been in place for some time.
Yeah, I just, when I made the motion to adopt this, I was waiting to hear from anybody that might think that there was a problem, and besides Mr. Ash, I haven't heard of one person that had a problem with this over the last couple of weeks. And it's also, when you have fireworks going off in your neighborhood, it's really hard on household pets or livestock for that matter. I know we've got some other issues in our town with livestock, and also young children really find it difficult sometimes. So, not to mention that people do get hurt with these from time to time. So I think we're heading in the right direction with this.
Certainly agree with that. My dog cowers under the bed for about 2 weeks around Halloween, and it's not pleasant. And I would say that when I sat at the regional board, whenever this issue came up, I encouraged the rural directors to consider such a ban on sale of them, because, quite frankly, you can go just outside our municipal boundaries and fill up your shopping cart with them. So it's, hopefully we'll be able to give the officials here that deal with this issue on an enforcement basis a few more tools.
Yes, not so much the issue. I made up my mind on that, but the first, second, third reading, and without having the community giving them a chance to respond. Does anybody else at the council table have concerns with that?
Not for this kind of issue, for me anyway, as an updating of a bylaw that's been there. If it was a brand new bylaw, there might have been an opportunity to, we can always hold open houses and forums and whatnot and give it whatever readings we want. But from a housekeeping point of view, the first 3 readings at one meeting and 2 weeks later for adoption is perfectly appropriate for this kind of matter.
I was just going to say that it's been 2 weeks. We actually had a week in between, from normal. So. I think people have had plenty of time to respond if they wanted to. And as I say, I haven't heard from one person. I don't know if anyone else has or not.
I haven't either.
Anything further? Seeing none on adoption, then all's in favor? Carried unanimously. All right, and also from the last meeting, we gave 3 readings to the permissive tax exemption bylaw, and now we're considering adoption.
Move adoption.
Second.
Adoption, any speakers? Seeing none, all those in favor? Again, carried unanimously. Under new business, we have a referral here at page 67 of the solid waste management plan that's been approved in principle by the CDRD, Solid Waste Management Board. And I take it what we're being asked to here is provide our approval of same. Is that correct, Steve? Yes. So a letter of support they're looking for.
So I would move we grant a letter of support.
Is there a second?
Okay, great. Any discussion on that?
Just one question. I read through this, and what is Cumberland's thought on this?
From what I gather, they've begrudgingly accepted most of it, although they may not have voted in favor. I think what they're looking for is essentially better compensation for the fact that the landfill site is going to continue to be there, which I think is what has been presented as the low-cost solution all along. In my time at the Regional Solid Waste Board, going back a number of years, that was always, to my mind, the way to go. In fact, there was land acquired out there a number of years ago for that very purpose. So I understand the concerns that Cumberland has around the roads and the effect on neighboring development potential, although I understand that perhaps the development that was going to be built right next door to this is no longer proceeding. So I'm not sure there's an imminent concern as they had before.
I noticed that they did address a lot of issues with the waste energy. I know that was a bit contentious at one time. A lot of those kinds of things have been taken into account. The only thing left, and maybe Councillor Fletcher could give us a little update as to Cumberland's thoughts on this.
Certainly when the solid waste management plan was presented to us, the representative on the board spoke opposed to it and addressed their concerns. What they did ask was that the mutually beneficial agreement, which is something that is just being worked on, they wanted to ensure that that was first and foremost carried before the solid waste management plan was. But even with that intent to work on an agreement for the Village of Cumberland in respect to the impact that it has on their community, the representative did not vote in favor. Now that being said, it will come back to the board after the municipalities have had input. So I know Cumberland definitely still has concerns about the landfill being in their community, but
we're working, the RD is working with them to iron out their concerns and deal with
try
it.
and find a mutually beneficial agreement is the term.
Yeah, they certainly come a long way from adamantly being opposed to any expansion to recognizing that that is for the betterment of the regional. They probably won't favor it. They understand that the region has to come up with a solution. Finding another landfill site or expanding Campbell River was going to be cost prohibitive. And there may be opportunities to, I've always thought there may be opportunities for Cumberland to benefit from whether it's waste to energy, other things that come out of this, maybe even a composting facility for some economic development. So we'll see. Anything further? Yes?
Yes, and I certainly support this, and I think it's a very good plan. It covers all the bases. I just had one quick question on the food waste collection, and glad that we'll soon be able to move forward with it. And it speaks to that there's unlikely to be any significant increases in pickup costs, but there'll be the capital costs of the containers. And I just wondered, would it be Comox responsible for purchasing those, or would it be a regional district function purchase?
CO has been working on a staff level on some of those issues. So
Yeah, they're still under discussion. There's the opportunity of the town purchasing for residents or property owners containers. Some communities have utilized stickers, decals that can be placed on containers that people have already. So all those are currently being discussed and dealing with how it could actually be implemented. And Shelley has been sitting on the committee as well as our Director of Finance, Don Quest.
is there, I know that the City of Vancouver was actually looking at using the yard waste collection process to deal with much of this kitchen organics as well. So.
And I think that's the direction we're heading in, is that you would use perhaps separate containers at your curb for your yard waste and your organics. They would be dumped into the same vehicle and then hauled to the landfill for processing.
Yeah. So, all right, well, let staff work at that, assuming that all goes well, maybe sometime by early 2013. All right, so the motion to provide the letter of support by resolution is on the table, and are you ready for the question? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. And thank you, Councillor Fletcher, and I know Councillor Tom Grant was also working hard on that as it moves towards its conclusion. Alrighty then, reports from members of council. We'll start with Councillor McKinnon.
Yes, a week ago Sunday I was at the Community Justice Center event to honor volunteers that volunteer for restorative justice, and we also honored our patron Iona Campanola. It was her birthday there. This Sunday I attended the Comox Valley Multicultural Society potluck at Lewis Park, which was well attended. In between, like some of the other councillors, I attended the UBCM. I went to some workshops there, including Powering the Future, Local Government Finance, Mid-Sized Communities Forum, Social Media, Local Government Leadership, Community Destinations Development, Provincial Athletic Commission, Healthy Families Cabinet Panel, Empowering Citizens Through Data, Jersey Day Participation Walk, wearing my Comox Valley jersey. And I lastly would like to end by saying that I picked up a British Columbia Community Achievement Award application. And for those of you that might not be aware, it's asking British Columbians around the province to nominate a deserving individual who raises the quality and character of your community. If there's anybody you think that might be nominated, I have a copy of this, or you can get them online.
Great. Okay, super. Councillor Prince.
Thank you. And since we were last meeting, I attended the Cycling Task Force meeting, the Environmental Council, where we had a presentation on the Enbridge pipeline and concerns about the pipeline and the tanker traffic. I attended UBCM, which was, I think it was one of the best I've been to for a while. A lot of workshops, resolutions, and I think something Councillor McKinnon mentioned earlier, the fact that we're leading into a provincial election added to the excitement that the political speakers weren't just giving us a speech, they were kicking off their campaigns. So it was a great week. This morning I chaired the Comox Plaza Wildlife Management Area Co-Management Committee, and we're still working on details of circle routes within the wildlife management area and potential trail closures. There have been some starts on trail closures up there, and it's always difficult until you have people on side. We now have representation from the biking community, and we continue to work on how to deal with conflicting uses within the WMA. We have formed a subcommittee with membership from the Friends of Comox Plaza Forest Reserve and biking community and representation from the province to look at how we can manage the trails and have a workable network, with a view to a future public meeting before we do publish a plan, and that the Friends still have grant money to produce a plan which will be a print form and on the website, and we will be increasingly seeing work happening in there and rationalising of the trail network. And the Social Planning Council meeting was cancelled because we're going to have an interagency update brown bag lunch on November the 6th. It's lunchtime, 12 to 1:30. And I think we got an email on it, and if I just encourage people, they are interesting, and anybody who can make it, I encourage to attend.
All right, Councillor Swift.
Well, I too attended the UBCM, and as a newcomer to this event, I was very impressed and found it very interesting and informative, and I certainly learned a lot. And I really enjoyed speaking with delegates from other communities and learning what they're doing tackling some of these same issues. So I found it really interesting. And other than that, just attended the hospice auction committee meeting yesterday, and we have our event coming up November 3rd, and we'll be delighted to sell anybody tickets should they like to come.
All right. Councillor Fletcher.
Thank you. I too attended UBCM and many great events. I think one of the sessions that really spoke to me was the healthy communities with the ministers, and it's very much what I've spoken about here is how we need to engage our schools, and ourselves, and hospitals, because really we should not be working in isolation. We should all be working together. So I was really pleased with that concept being presented there. Internet voting was also interesting to hear how some communities are doing their municipal elections on internet voting. So I'm sure it's going to come to our town one day soon. My appreciation to Mayor Ives for speaking on our A1 resolution that was presented on the gas tax monies. I think spoke very well to it, and certainly the delegates heard your rationale loud and clear. So thank you for doing that. Following UBCM, Regional Hospital Board members had the opportunity to tour the Patient Care Centre at Royal Jubilee. VHA was presenting it to us as they consider it to be a template for our new hospital. Very much a similar layout and design. However, it was very clear as we were led through it that they've learned things and they will change some things, and so it's good to know that we're not the first out of the block, and ours will be a newer and improved patient care center, similar to that one. And last Sunday I was at the dedication of the Solom River Restoration Societies. They dedicated a salmon statue to the regional district. It is in the exhibition grounds. As you follow into the exhibition grounds, just as you're going to head into the wooded area next to the river, it's put there to speak to the community about the awareness of our impact as you enter an area near to the river where salmon are living and habitating and spawning. So if you have the opportunity, go by. It's a lovely piece that they have presented to the community for us to awareness, education, and just appreciation. Thank you.
All right, Councillor Grant.
Well, I did not go to UBCM, although I did ask staff if there was any changes they wanted made during your absence, and I've got this stuff here of what we did while you were away, but no. I was happy to hear that our resolution passed, and I did hear that you spoke on it and that it passed quite resoundingly, so I think that's a great thing for most communities in British Columbia and ours as well, so I think that'll be a really good thing. Also, we had a BIA meeting yesterday. Out of that, they've decided that they don't want to have the ball hockey tournament on the main street anymore, so we will be looking for a different location for that. Not sure exactly where that will be, but that will be to follow. Also, I was at an economic development strategic planning session, and we had Jamie Van Struth, who's an economist, there to help us along the way. It was really more of an overview at that one of where we are and what we've done. The next session, which is upcoming in a few weeks, will be to really start putting the meat and potatoes to the plan. I also attended the economic strategy for Comox with staff here, and same economist was here for that, and we got a real good start on some of the areas that we should look at for starting the plan, and that is ongoing as well. And in that plan and the other plan, we used the minutes of the notes from the meeting that we had in the Blackfin pub. So those do not go to waste. They are actually being used to help us put this strategy together. And I was also contacted by Cindy Major of CUPE regarding a Shop Local campaign, and I unfortunately forgot to bring the sheet, so I can't remember the exact date of it, but it would be something that would be interesting for those who want to go and attend and just see what they're doing. It's in conjunction with CUPE, and I just think it's a good campaign that we should all help out and rally around. Unfortunately, it happens to be on the same night that the Top 40 Under 40 is on, because the young entrepreneurs would be a great asset to that mix, but it is what it is. So. But
is that the 10% shift thing?
The 10% shift thing, yeah. But it's initiative that would be good for our, a lot of our businesses in town are really struggling, especially on our main street right now. There's several of them that are, making ends meet, and I think if we can all shop local and do our part, it would help out a lot. So I think it's a good initiative. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you for that. Since I was last here at the council, I participated in the Mayor's Classic Charity Golf Tournament back in September. I know Councillor Grant was there, both Grants, and then our CAO was there as well. I understand over $38,000 was raised for, among others, the North Island College Foundation, Boomer Legacy, and the Young Professionals in their work with Habitat. So
I think that's what they got out of me.
yeah, yeah. I checked my visa bill the other day, and I go, what did I get for that? In any event, it was a great event, great day, great weather, of course, and we managed to raise some good money for good causes. The UBCM, before I mention that, I want to thank Acting Mayor Hugh McKinnon for participating in many events while I was away in the 2 weeks before UBCM. At the UBCM, we had, among other things, CAOI met with the Minister of Aboriginal Relations on the Northeast Woods MOU and the Crown Grant. We met with BC Hydro on the Guthrie project in terms of, we've gone through 2 years now working hand in hand with them on the work that they need to do to add more capacity to their system, and it's worked out really well, so we wanted to thank them for that and encourage them to work with us again for next year, which will be in hopefully the final phase of that, which will be a tricky one because it's going to go right through the intersection of Anderton and Guthrie. So more disruption for next summer, but it will be all done hopefully with Hydro's cooperation. And then lastly, we met with BC Ambulance representatives just to keep in touch with them on the service they're providing here behind Town Hall, and they're quite happy with that location, and we'll continue to work with them as we go forward. And again, to thank them for providing that service to our residents. I attended the Municipal Insurance Association AGM as the town's voting rep. There was a couple of housekeeping changes, and otherwise all good news on the municipal insurance front, and material for that is available to anyone who wishes. Some elections were held, and I don't know what the results were, but that was, again, another great organization, much like Municipal Finance Authority, that provides good service to our communities at a low cost. The various presentations were all excellent. The ones that I got to, social media, voting on the internet were two that I thought were quite interesting, and we'll see where those go. Perhaps voting over the internet by the 2014 municipal elections. They're right now doing that in Nova Scotia. For the advance polls, you can either vote by internet or by phone. And on the election day down in Nova Scotia, you have to show up at the polling station. So they're using it in other places, and we'll see whether it comes into play here. Minister Bill Bennett gave a good presentation, I thought, on community development issues, local government finance and accountability, and I had a chance to talk to him later about it and express some of the concerns that we have with things like the new municipal auditor general and looking at the budgets that we've passed over the last number of years around the rate of inflation in terms of increases. So he was pleased to hear we were keeping our costs under control. The resolution session was quite comprehensive. It was a very long day. I know that ours was actually number one on the substantive one, and it passed very quickly. There were others that didn't pass as quickly, but I would point out that there were two resolutions on Coast Guard traffic control stations being either reduced in staffing or cut back entirely, and both those motions passed together resoundingly, so that was good to do that for some local effect here. Really, the opportunities at a UBCM, especially when it's in Victoria, to meet with our MLA, to meet with all the ministers, especially the new cabinet members, new portfolios, is unparalleled, really. And they're quite approachable, and I would commend our minister and MLA, Don McCrae, for being quite available at any time. He did host us at his office as well, but to talk about any number of issues without necessarily having to schedule anything. So it was an exciting week for sure. Part of that week I did go out to Soup for the Tourism Vancouver Island Awards, which the CVEDS was getting the award for its Discovery Center. The Sustainability Award was awarded to them, and certainly well deserved. I know Councillor Ken Brown has worked on the various committees there, and it was was nice to see that supported on the sustainability front with all the attributes that that center's been built with. And also a nice little surprise to see Andrew McMillan there, and he got the Employee of the Year award. And of course, as you know, he's the Harbour Air local rep here, and I would like to actually also send him a letter to congratulate him for that. He's done a lot of work and quietly does it. It was nice to see him get a little bit of fanfare for that. And Souk is actually that hotel. It'll be the location of the ABICC in 2013 in April. So a nice location. Hopefully most of us can attend that. The only other thing I'll mention is that in addition to the premier end, Don McRae sort of supporting Connor Gibson as the Vanier School Prime Minister, I actually got one of the orange bands too. So where did I put it? Here it is. So Connor's quite an active young fellow, and he's running for Vanier School Prime Minister, and I said I would wear that and mention his name. So hopefully the kids get out and vote and support their candidate. It's the fourth time I think he's run, so he's quite persistent. And so that's it for the reports. We do have one late item, and that is to do with the City of Courtenay, as passed on Monday, a resolution.
I'm going to claim a conflict of interest on that. And is there need for me to return? Or just media questions? After
Just media questions, so you might want to speak for that. You do have to declare the nature of the conflict.
Pardon me?
You do have to declare the
Oh, because I'm on the exec of the Conservative Party.
Ah, thank you. Okay. Fair enough. All right, so let's wait for Councillor Surratt. So as you can see, there's two resolutions. So really what they're looking for is support for some consideration of their position. When this first came out in the paper a few months ago in the summer, I was asked my opinion on it. I gave my opinion as mayor that it didn't make sense to me to divide the Comox Valley in two. Under the current proposal, we would remain in Vancouver Island North, so we would retain our representation. But obviously the City of Courtenay would be, points to the west of the river would be affected by having a member from Nanaimo, Alberta. So anyway, that was my comments. I haven't considered taking any position at the commission hearings on the 15th of October, and I think you had to get a request for that in by the end of August, so it's not my intention to go there and say anything about it. But if council wishes to make a resolution, we can certainly forward it. What's your pleasure? Yes?
I would make a resolution similar to the now therefore be it resolved. That the presentation to the Commission reflects the desire and need for the Comox Valley to be considered as a unified body represented by one electoral riding in the interest of the community cohesion and representational unity.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Second on that? And I know the City of Courtenay had talked about that kind of resolution, but they didn't feel comfortable doing that on their behalf. But certainly I have no problem with it. Any further discussion on it? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion is carried. So we'll forward that to whoever needs to hear about it. Yes, to the Commission and to the City of Courtenay. All right, media questions at this particular juncture. None? Okay. I don't think there's any members of the public left here. So we'll consider a motion to adjourn. That would be a pleasure. Second. All in favor? Motion is carried.